Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to remove your door panel. This is going to be pertinent to those of you who want to do the Alcantara door inserts with me, since it will be a program where you'll want to send in these pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces to me per door, in order for me to reupholster them for you. So I'll show you how to remove the door panel and also remove these pieces. It's pretty simple, but first step is to remove these door sash pieces, front and back. So these break quite frequently. What happens is the metal clips end up staying, sometimes holding on to the plastic tabs, which you see here, and they end up just tearing these tabs. So it's pretty common, so just be careful. You're gonna wanna go ahead and use these plastic pry tools to pry off these pieces, and sometimes the clips will stay on the piece and sometimes they'll stay on the door, but that's why these are pretty common to replace and break, but you just want to pry those off. So this is where the 2 positions of the attachments are in the back, and on the front there are 3 attachment points. So pry those off. Okay, so prying this interior piece off can get a little tricky, and I'll show you why. Essentially you need to pry in from this side first, and this is where a lot of them end up breaking. Mine's already broken. I'll show you in a bit. I can feel it right here. You want to pry outwards from the door panel and then pull back towards the back of the car. And so mine is easy to come out because it's broken, and this is why they break right here, is because you have this big piece that you need to get out past this, right? So you need to pry outwards like this and then pull backwards as these 2 tabs are being held in behind this door handle. So you got this door handle holding in this top 2 tabs. Meanwhile, you need to pull out the center, and that's why they break. It's very typical. So just watch out for that. But this piece is so thick, you have to look, if you look at it, you got to pull this piece out this much, you know, what is that, like an inch or 3/4 of an inch, while these pieces are flexing. So it's not ideal, but that's essentially what you do, because then you have to pull backwards because of these hooks right here, these 3 hooks. So pull out, push back, and that's how you remove that piece. Okay, so at this point you want to remove this door handle, and this is where you have access to all the screws. Mine are not all OEM screws, so do not use this as a reference for which screws go where. I'm missing some screws too, but essentially you need to open up the door handle to access 2 screws in the back. There's 2 more right here, 2 more at the top right there, and then 2 more down here. This is a good time to unlatch this door handle cable, where you would just put a piece right in here and pop it up. Like that. It's a good time to do that because while it's still bolted to the door, because you have leverage, whereas if you remove the door handle, it's harder to kind of pop this off without the leverage of the door handle being bolted to the door still. So next step is to remove the screws. All right. And then once you have that off, now here's where it's useful that you already popped this piece off. So you rotate it. As you can see, you rotate this to where the slot is open, so you can pull this out, and then you just got to unplug the door lock and it's off. Okay, this next step is also where a lot of people break pieces. As you see, this is broken, this is broken. These are supposed to be fully enclosed with just a hole in the middle for the screw. And the way you access this goes all the way around the door panel. So the reason why these plastic tabs get broken is because they're hidden behind these seals, and people usually just try to force the door panel past the seal, when, as you can see here, this is a screw. So ideally you're supposed to pop this rubber completely off and then you can access the screws. So you're just gonna want to use, again, a trim removal tool and follow the rubber along the sides, and you'll see that there's plastic clips holding it in. So I'll show you what that looks like after I pop some off. Okay, so I have some of these off, and again, these are easy to pop out, but they are also easy to tear. So you can see this is pretty common. Also, these just are a T shape and they fit in like this. However, if you don't remove it correctly, you can tear the rubber, and these cars are old, so you know, it can be brittle, or there's people that have removed it multiple times and already broken it. So just look out for that. You can follow the rubber all along the edges and find out where it's attached, and you just want to slip your tool in there and pop it off. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll show you how many there are around the whole thing, and then you'll be able to start removing your door panel after that. Okay, so there are 18 or so of these orange clips that go around the perimeter of the door. So you don't want to look out for that. I'm missing a bunch right here, but as you can see, you don't necessarily need all of them to hold it in, but it's again easy to tear the rubber, which is very common. Okay, so once you have the rubber off, you're gonna want to go ahead and remove these screws going along the perimeter, holding in the actual door panel. So go ahead and remove those. Okay, so I believe there are 2 tabs on each. There's 3 pieces. If you're not familiar with these door trim pieces, it comes in 3 pieces. And so there's 2 screws over here, 2 screws along the bottom, and 2 screws along the back. So a total of 6 screws holding the door panel. Once you have those all removed, your door panel should be able to lift up. You have to lift it up. It's kind of hooked in to the actual steel skin. So it's hooked on, lift up, and then remove it. Okay, and removing the door inserts is really easy, so I just like to use this kind of pliers. You can use any kind of pliers, but I have these like flat type, so that works really good, because you just want to just bend back each one of these tabs, and it's very straightforward. The only one that is even slightly hard, and it's not that hard, is just to keep track of the ones on the sides. So this one on the side kind of has an L shape and curves around, and so you got to look out for these tabs that hold, kind of pinch around this side plastic piece. So not only do you have the ones on this panel right here, but you have the ones sticking out on the side. So you're gonna want to look out for those. Okay, to install them, it's just the reverse. You just put the pieces in and bend the tabs back. The only caveat is this piece again. So you'll want to pay attention to this angle right here. It's possible that these can get bent out of shape. This metal is pretty kind of flimsy, thin metal, thin steel. So it's possible for these to get bent out of shape. And what happens if this angle is off? There's going to be a gap. So because it curves around the side, if this angle is too open, too wide, then there's going to be a gap between the panel will basically stick out like that, and it needs to be flush against the door panel. So you want to make sure that this angle is tight enough. Upon installing them, you want to make sure that these two tabs right here are straight or perpendicular kind of, and because what you want to do is be able to slide this piece down like this, and it's only going to slide down if these two tabs line up directly. Also, before I forget to mention, all of these pieces have a curvature to it, and so those can also get a little bit bent out of shape. And so when you're putting these down, and if they're bent out of shape, it could possibly create some gaps along the top right here, and maybe misalign with the other pieces if their angle is not correct. For example, if these pieces are next to each other and the curvature is different, it might look like that on the door panel. So you want to make sure that curvature is generally correct, and that you also bend these tabs back very tight against this door panel to make sure that they curve along the door panel. So you're going to want to do that on every single panel. So once you have this piece in like this, you're going to want to hold it very tight. Tend to put my knee underneath it, push down, and bend the tab back as tight as possible, like that. You can use your thumbs, or you can use pliers. Doesn't really matter. That way, there's it's nicely pressed against the door panel, as you can see, with very minimal gaps. And that way, also along the sides, you have an even gap. So once this side panel is on, and you have pushed down these 4 tabs, you don't forget to push down these 2 tabs on the side. That will make sure that there's no gap between these 2 pieces right here. If this is not tight, again, if this angle is bad, or if you don't tighten this side tab enough, there's going to be a gap between this piece, might sit out like that. Again, so I'll put my knee right below each piece right here, and that way I can make sure they are tight. Okay, once you have them all on, it should look a little something like this. It's possible that there might be some overlap, so I had to kind of loosen some and adjust it and put this one underneath this one, if that makes sense. So just kind of take a look at how it's laying before you go ahead and install it back on your car, because this is you don't want to have to take off your door panel just to adjust something pretty minimal. But that is the install of the Alcantara door insert. The rest of it is just a reverse order of removal. So if you guys have any questions, leave a comment, let me know, and thanks for watching.